So, hello everyone. Hello Facebook. Hello YouTube, and everywhere that we're streaming from this evening. Listen, you guys are in for a special treat. This is actually part two of a show that we started last week where we were exploring the reasons why it is that women are not getting along the way that we desire to. So, in doing that, we brought on some experts, right? So, we're going to be hearing soon from my co host, Jody Pittman, always in the building, always sharing wisdom with us, Newark born and raised. And we also have the honor to be bringing back Dr. Pam Jones, and she's going to be with us talking about some things shortly too. One thing we're definitely going to move on tonight in terms of content and subject matter is this situation with Angel Reese. So if you haven't gotten your popcorn and if you haven't gotten your drink, go get it because we're about to set it off for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready. Buckle your seatbelts because we're definitely about to blast off for sure.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Like this. Baby, you a heart stopper.
Woke up in my city, yeah, I feel like Big Papa. I feel like Big Papa.
Nah, you gotta go like this, and like this. Baby, you a heart stopper.
Woke up in my city.
Okay, and with that being said, Jody, thank you for joining W.A.G.E this evening. How are you?
I'm doing well tonight, Sheila. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Listen, if you can turn your volume up a little, I'll turn mine up. It could be me. We're going to get started immediately. Jody, have you been hearing the buzz around the situation with Angel Reese?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear now. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So, like we were talking about last week, right? There's this movement in this country that is definitely to oppress women, but it is definitely a stark mission to downgrade the power and the tenacity of Black women. And so we saw it again, right? That our behaviors are highly scrutinized, and no matter what space it's in, words like ghetto, aggressive,
Right.
hood, inappropriate will always be used to downgrade our shine. And this country is very willing to participate in that. So that's what happened to that baby, because she's just a baby.
Absolutely.
And even though her voice is lightning and strong,
Yes, it is.
as a mom, I'm so offended because she is just a baby, right?
Yeah.
It is interesting to see.
And I want to tell you, Jody, I know I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I love that you said there's so many things there, right? That her voice is lightning. I love it. I love it. We will not show up weak. You understand? We will not show up being aggressive. We will show up being very assertive. We know what we're talking about. We know what it is that we believe in. And the thing is to disable the woman's psyche by any means necessary to break her down, oftentimes in these types of situations. And like you said, we see it a lot. Especially with women in leadership. Those buzzwords. Jody, what are some of the buzzwords?
Ghetto, aggressive.
Yeah. What is it?
Ghetto, aggressive.
Yes, aggressive.
Mad.
What was that?
Mad.
Oh yeah, she's mad. She's angry. That's right. She's
absolutely.
Hood.
Inappropriate.
They
even use classless.
Yes, and that was used in this circumstance. In fact, we're going to go to a little footage and talk about this. And I just want to say to the women that are listening, if you haven't shared this live, share it already, because Really, women need to understand that if you want to be passive and submissive, that is fine. But every woman does not have to be passive and submissive. That doesn't mean that you have to be a raven wild person, but it does mean that you do get to be assertive. You do get to understand some things and speak, speak up on it to defend yourself. So we're talking about the situation for those of you who are joining, that happened. I want to say yesterday with the young lady, and she did this. I didn't know what it meant at first. That's my new thing now.
Yes.
Allegedly, it means like, yeah, you can't see me. That's my new thing now. So when you guys see me, and I'm like, I love it. I love it. I love it because we need to show up. I love that. I love that. And one thing I'll say, I got two daughters, and trust me, they're their mother's children. And matter of fact, they're probably 10 times worse. They will show up on you. And Jody, I know your daughter is like that too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that is no show no weakness. We don't play that. So with that being said, I want to go to present. You guys stay with me because I have sometimes a little problem doing this. Jody, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about more about your thoughts about that while I'm pulling up this little video.
So first of all, right, it's twofold.
Mm-hmm.
The misogyny in it, right, amongst all women of all colors, was the discussion in general about women athletes and how when we celebrate the athlete or we taunt, it is inappropriate, right? But
Right.
especially in basketball, on the male side, that is regular, right? Taunting, celebration, trash talking. That is what athletes do.
Right. Absolutely.
Make that
Absolutely.
conversation is to say that a woman athlete cannot be that, and I want to use the right word, that passionate,
Right.
you know what I mean? Or even they would say masculine.
Right,
They
and
would
that's another
say,
buzzword. And with that being said, I just want to go to the video footage just to show the audience exactly what it is that we're talking about.
Did First Lady Jill Biden get so excited about the women's basketball championship game, she put her foot in her mouth? As she celebrated LSU's victory over Iowa, Dr. Jill suggested both teams come to the White House.
So I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So, we'll have LSU. You know what? I'm going to tell Joe, I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game.
Problem is, that's never been done before. And no matter her intention, the idea landed with a giant thud.
Let's keep tradition, which is a special visit for the winner.
Because you won.
I don't know. Being the girl, I'm saying bring all the women.
Listen, you can't invite both to the White House, can you? No.
LSU star player Angel Reese tweeted a joke. Looks like the First Lady heard the boos. Today, she's walking back on the concept of inviting the losing team as well as the winners. She looks forward to celebrating the LSU Tigers on their championship win at the White House.
Okay, so we're going to stop right there and just speak on this a little bit because what was very interesting to me, let me stop sharing the screen there. What was very interesting to me was the fact that with all this going on with the nation, right, with the banks, I think yesterday PNC closed about 47 banks in a day across the nation. We're talking about nations coming together against America. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about homelessness. We're talking about so many important things that are taking place. The dollar, in that how it's not valued, how it's lost its value. There's so many things that could be talked about other than a girls' basketball game. But if you are going to talk about a girls' basketball game, once again, why are we faced with women going against each other? Why? Why is she making these comments? And why is she saying that she wants Iowa to come to the White House? Why is she saying that? What was the impetus to say that? It smacked of racism, right? it smacked of you felt that this young girl did this, and like you said, because it was a young black girl, right? It's always that double standard. So it wasn't just trash talking on the court. And I've coached forever. I play ball, so yeah, that's what we do. And it's like, wow. But when someone else did it, and I want to show that too. Somebody else did it, and that wasn't the look of it. What you think about that, Jody?
So it was Caitlin Clark. So just to put it in perspective, right? Caitlin Clark is considered the best in basketball, right? In college basketball. And to be very honest with you, I was rooting for Caitlin Clark. So I've been watching Caitlin Clark since Kobe Bryant died. She
Oh,
was
wow.
one of the speakers at his funeral. He was her mentor.
Wow.
And she told the story about how he came to a practice of hers, and he was telling her that the difference between a regular basketball player and a star is a star gets up every day and rises and grinds. And my daughter watched it, and it was a powerful lesson. And so I've been watching her ever since then. And I use the phrase rise and grind with my daughter every day. No matter what you do, if you want to be successful, we rise and we grind every day.
Right.
So I was a fan of her. But
Right.
she was the promise, right? She's an incredible basketball player and she's good, right?
Right.
But so she's their princess.
Okay. Okay. So
And
that
she lost.
so that
Right?
that that's cool. But when you lose, right, Jody, a loss is a loss. Why both teams getting? Why do you think both teams are getting invited to the White House?
Because this country is founded on a premise that they are better. So Jill Biden decided that she was going to elevate their princess, regardless of the loss. That she was going to that those black young ladies were going to have to share the shine with that team,
right,
to equal out the rhetoric. But at the end of the day, right, Caitlin herself said that there was nothing wrong with what happened.
Absolutely.
That Reese was an athlete and that all of that behavior elevated women's basketball. So remember, the actual person had no problem with it.
Right. Right.
It was this country.
So
and this behavior of
right.
If when we elevate and do better, they are going to put us in our place.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what Jill Biden was doing.
And you know, and you're not the only one that feels that way. I'm going to show a little footage to see what a few other people weighed in to say about this as well.
Even called the Queen of Clapbacks. Reese doing the exact same move towards Clark in the national championship game.
And Angel Reese knows a ring is coming.
But only Reese was heavily criticized, called everything from classless to worse, sparking heated conversations this week.
When Caitlin did it, people were celebrating it. But then the second the sister stepped up and threw it back in her face, now you got half the basketball world saying, well, you know what? That's not the classiest thing to do.
When Caitlin Clark did this, John Cena, it was considered swag. 48 hours later, Angel Reese does the exact same gesture. Is classless.
Both women chalking it up to trash talk.
I'm just one that competes, and she competed. So I think everybody knew there was going to be a little trash talk in the entire tournament. It's not just me and Angel.
Reese notching the most double-doubles in a single season in women's college basketball history, doubling down after Sunday's win.
All year, I was critiqued about who I was. I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto. But when other people do it, y'all don't say nothing. So this was for the girls that look like me, that's going to speak up on what they believe in. It's unapologetically you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. The confidence. I love it all. I love it all. I can't stop just raving about her. I love it. That confidence is what we need. There are so many times you see many people, right? And not just Black people, who, when they go to different places, everybody wants to fit in and gel in and be like whatever they think that they should be like in a particular social group. And it's really not about that. It's about showing up unapologetically who
That's
you are.
right.
You understand? And there were so many times that people would say that it reminded me of the young lady that I love too, who is the runner. What's her name?
I know who you're talking about.
I can't think of her name right now.
From
but
Maryland, from Baltimore.
and they was calling her ghetto, calling her hood, and something about weed. I think it's something that she wasn't able to run in the Olympic. I mean I think it was the Olympics or something like that.
Yes.
But they did the same thing to her. So we have a culture, we dress and we walk and we talk and we wear our hair how we choose to. What does that have to do with basketball, or in her case, what does that have to do with running and being excellent in those things, right? And as a Black woman, they've done the same thing to me. Like, oh, well, why does she have that color hair, right? Well, why is she dressed like this? You don't need to worry about that. If it's not pearls and chucks, it doesn't have to be, right? So everybody is different, but the double standard, right? So we get targeted for that double standard. And again, just if we do this, this is so cute to me too, by the way. I just think it's so cute. And it's
Right.
like well, y'all really made news about that. But again, we're still not talking about the fact that yesterday, right? I could go on and on with this. April the 4th, that marked the anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King, who really wasn't assassinated on that balcony, how we were led to believe for years and years and years, that he was actually suffocated in the hospital.
That's right.
Why are we not talking about that? You understand? So like a lot of this stuff is really distractions, right? And even with and this is a little sidebar, but even with Trump being arrested, like there's so many things that Trump, pun intended, this situation with Angel, that is ridiculous. But for whatever reason, and I like something that she said. I put it on my page. I didn't pull that video up, but something else that Angel Reese said. She said, as women, we should be sticking together regardless. And I love how her and Caitlyn showed that mutual respect of sticking together,
So this is going to sound like a conspiracy, right?
Okay.
But I do believe that a part of it is because of what is happening in this country now to women, right? Taking the rights of women away, the abortion movement against women, right? That what this country does understand is that there is a movement that is not based on color, where women in this country understand now that it doesn't even matter the color, that women are being oppressed as a unit, right?
That's
so
right.
What better way to stop that movement than by creating an issue between women, Black and white?
Absolutely.
Let's throw some dissension in.
Right.
Let's get them beefing amongst each other.
Right.
So that the movement is stopped in its place.
That's right.
And so as women, we do have to recognize that we are stronger together no matter what the race than we are apart, and do not allow this country run by rich old white men to stop that progress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely the patriarchy, right? It's definitely that. And like I said, again, I love how those two young people, they defended each other. And, it just made Jill Biden look really bad for even involving herself in the way that she did, because there was definitely, some insinuation there. So with that being said, I want to go to what it is, the topic of discussion that we're discussing tonight. Tonight, we're going to be discussing moms are running for Newark Public Schools Board of Education. Do they have the support of other moms? And this is a part 2 to what we started talking about last week about support, right? Went right into from Women's History Month right into this situation with Angel Reese and Caitlin, and what we have now, even with the First Lady involving herself. And it's like, okay, if this shoe was on the other foot and Angel Reese had done that and their team lost, would they be also getting invited to the White House? So
exactly.
Right. And so when we think about that, again, we're looking at now on a local level, right? We're looking through a local lens. Are women here supporting each other? With 80% of the women constituency that vote, that with 80% being women, are they supporting the other women who have said, you know what? I'm going to step out. I'm going to run for school board because I care. I'm involved. I see some things that's not right. I don't like it. You understand? And I'm going to be about the change instead of complaining, right? I put up a post today about that. I don't want to be a complainer. I'm about solutions. So we're either setting up solutions or we're complaining, but we're not doing both. We're not successfully doing both. And with that being said, I want to just invite our one and only Dr. Pamela Jones aboard with us. And this discussion is so important. So I just want to say, Dr. Pamela Jones, thank you again for coming back out with us.
Hello there. How are you? So glad to be invited back again.
Listen, I'm glad to have you again. A wealth of wisdom, and you've been here, right? And so the things that we are struggling to try to understand, you have a firm grip on those things, and we're trying to bring everything together. We're trying to bring that knowledge and wisdom together. We're trying to bring, the parenting together with the younger women, and just create a culture, an atmosphere, a reestablishing of society, if you will, that we're getting along together, that we're working toward common goals without backbiting, without talking about each other, with focusing on what the goal is, and pretty much even minding your business when it comes to women's personal lives. That has nothing to do with social goals that we need to establish. And education is one. So while I'm proud to have these moms running for office, I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Do you think that women will be supportive, of these other moms who have stepped out? And if so, why? And if not, why not? And Dr. Pamela, we're going to start with you. And again, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm not too keen on the topic today because I just got in. I was stuck at work with something, but I wanted to jump on. But the one thing I want to talk about is women. There's so many women that are powerful. There's so many women that are, they're bosses. And that's what people strive for nowadays. And so as a result of that, there's this, touchy situation where sisters are not getting along. And that's very, very troublesome. And it means that we're not looking at the big picture, because even with whether it be the Board of Education, whether it be any topic, if you work together, if you stick together, if you support each other, as opposed to trying to pull one down and the other trying to be larger than the other, that is the issue. So why are we competing? Why are we competing as sisters? There's a lot that goes on. Even historically, women have not been treated equal. And as a result of that, they have been hurt, and hurt people hurt people. And so someone who has made it doesn't want the other to make it, because they had such a struggle, and because they were hurt so deeply, they look at you as the enemy as opposed to the compliment. And that is the issue. Why can't we learn how to look at each other as the compliment? Such as, I've got this going on. You've got something else going on. I've got a weakness, and that makes me a little bit vulnerable. You've got a weakness, and that makes you a little bit vulnerable. But if you can support my weakness and cover me, then I should be able to support your weakness and cover you. And then we're covering each other. And there are going to be two bosses at the table that are going to be able to be phenomenal and to have that opportunity. But instead, we don't look at it that way. We think by destroying the other, it makes us stronger. but by destroying the other, it makes us weaker. And that's one thing I want sisters to just begin to learn how to do, is just to be real, be vulnerable. And then when there's offense, don't offend because they have offended you, but we end up offending each other. And that always happens in the political arena. And by the way, I'm not political, but I can talk about it from the perspective of, just what it what it involves, what it entails. And all of that, just clawing at one another. That is just so deceptive, because sometimes people really believe that that's the way you win. Clawing someone else, having someone else bleed and almost bleed to death, because you can be on that receiving end of the claws and you know what it feels like to be the one who's bleeding. So we need to learn how to stop the bleeding. That is unacceptable for sisters to be clawing and downplaying and coming up trying to find out your personal business and then dragging your dirt into the picture to even make you look smaller. That is so, I'm just trying to think, it's like a Neanderthal kind of a thing, where the caveman in the club, whoever hits the other one the hardest, then the one that survives is on the top of the mountain. And that is a heathen perspective. And we need to realize these tactics that, people have given us these notions because they don't know any better. I pray that our women of today's society would take a look and find out what the real enemy is. And it's not each other. It's greater than that. It's been used. I don't care if it's in corporate America. I don't care if it's in politics. It's divide, we conquer. And the whole premise of people attacking one another is fueled by individuals that have no understanding or have no common sense about how that makes us losers together. And we want to be winners together. And so I wish that I could change the philosophy of sisters. It saddens me, and it's real. Last week I was talking about being so positive, but I want to be honest and say I do realize that sisters don't get along oftentimes. But let's look at the root cause. You've got to have, in order for anything to be effective, in order for it to operate, it has to have energy. And we can choose the energy. It can be positive energy or it can be negative energy. And whatever type of energy you apply is going to affect your outcome. So why apply negative energy when you're wanting to win? You're going to lose. Negative energy never sustains. It always is a downfall and a downplay. And we have to
wait. We're gonna pause right there. Thank you. Thank you. We said a lot there. We unpacked a lot. I want to just spread the mic a little bit. Jody, again, a lot was unpacked there. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think it's a lot more complicated and insidious than that, right? I think, to be frank, I think the problem with Black women is that we have been brainwashed to be party driven and not people driven, right? So when we talk about Jill Biden, right, and her move to bring both teams to the White House, right? It's because she feels like she can, right? This administration, the Biden administration, herded Black women out. We put them in office. Black women put Biden into office. It was based on a promise. He told Black women that he would pass the voters' right bill and that he would pass the George Floyd policing reform bill. And based on that word, he was able to herd, especially out in the South, women out, and Black women actually put him in the presidency, right? And he got into office, and he didn't deliver on either of those promises, right? Instead, he did legislation for Asian people, right? And he did that because he knows that in 2 years, when he needs black women again to put him back into office, we will do exactly that. So Jill Biden had no fear. She didn't say, I have to stand with my constituents and do right by them. So she made a move that showed just how little respect she has for black women and that vote and that power. And so when you have lived in a country, black women, that has been doing that from the inception to black women, then we don't even respect one another. We respect the blue. We respect the party. And we will beat each other up, beat each other down, tear each other apart to maintain that party. That has to stop. And that's not like an easy thing. I'm sorry. It can't be a kumbaya moment. It's not going to be when we understand that we have to be nicer to one another. There is going to, for it to change, the only way it will change, there has to be a rising of black women who, one, let the party go and stand for the constituents, which would be us, right? We are the largest voting bloc in the Democratic Party. We make presidents.
So wait,
Not
Jody.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just to intervene right there. You're absolutely right. I want you to tie that into tonight's topic because you're right on target with moms running. So women are stepping up, right? You have women who are running and they're moms. You know, they're everyday moms, and said that they've had enough of the promises, whether it's local, national, whatever. They're taking the steps, right, to secure the education, or at least to make the good-hearted attempt to, right, for their children. What do you think about those moms? What do you say, to those moms? And then I'm gonna go back to Dr. Pamela Jones.
Unfortunately, the moms in the community are not going to come out and vote for those moms. And you know it, and I know it. And in some parts, it's going to be about that they are women, right? Moms or the voting bloc that votes for or votes on the school board election will be told by men, whoever the mayor says you should vote for, that's who you're going to vote for. Not a mom, right? So we don't even think realistically about what it is. That is education. And in Newark in general, right? It is more single moms in Newark. That's who put the mayor in office. Women, again, putting people in office, right? But we don't think on our own. We don't think about what it is. We just wait to be told what to do. And that's what we do. Unfortunately, those moms will not get elected. They won't be able to convince other moms that they're going to fight for them, because if the man at the top of the party doesn't tell them to vote for that mom, they will not. And you and I know that.
Wow. So wow, that's deep. That's heavy. Dr. Pamela, what are your thoughts?
I more or less speak from the perspective of workplace, but as it relates to the political arena, I just believe that people vote based on who's popular as opposed to who is equipped. That's just my position on it. And I oftentimes ask the question, is there a level of qualification that is needed in order to run for office? And I'm not talking about Newark or anywhere. I'm talking about just across the nation.
Absolutely.
I oftentimes ask that because similarly, as one of the largest examples, look at how many people voted for President Trump.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't based on his having the qualification. It was based on people rallying and rah-rah-rahing just because of it gave them a voice to be able to do things that they've never had a chance to do before. And whether it be a good agenda or a bad agenda, people follow that. People follow whatever they think is needed for them based on, it could be because if this person is in, I know that they support XYZ, and so I'm going to support them. It's just a matter of preference in terms of support. But the shameful part is that, as it is being said right now, that the agendas of, what is the agenda? What is the real agenda? And people have to look like at education. What is, and people don't have an understanding about educating children and how this affects a community and things of that nature. And it's a message that is missed. And then they find a platform that looks like it's gold. And because they don't understand education, they don't even know what they're selecting anymore. So they are driven to vote popularly with whoever can persuade them. And that's just across the world. That's not just here in Newark. That's worldwide.
Right.
Has always been, and it's seemingly that in the political world, there's just a lot that there's so many needs. And depending where you are as it relates to your need, you tend to gravitate toward your need as opposed to an overarching need for what should education look like, and has it worked in the past, and do we have the strength to be able to make that platform to make changes based on meeting the need of the entire area, whether it be the state, whether it be the city, whether it be whatever. People need to be able to make a decision based on the right platform. You see, I can come up and I can have on my hair, I can turn it green, and I can be loud. And if people like a loud person, it looks like I'm a risk taker and all of that kind of stuff. But I have nothing in my head about educational systems and how to make it better. People will just go for the green hair and the loudness, like she bad. That's not bad. That's just mockery. And a lot of it ends up being mockery because people have a preference not based on the issue. They have a preference based on maybe personality.
I've heard similar. I see it differently a little bit, and Jody, you can comment to this in terms of how you feel, but I see it differently. I see that they actually tend to vote because let's be honest here, the majority of the women who are voting consistently are the seniors, and they're not voting on popularity about who. Matter of fact, they're the ones mostly judging the younger women, saying that I'm not going to vote because she may have that, right? So they tend to have a look. So if you're going to run for office, you have to have the look, right? You have to wear your pearls and you have to wear hair a certain way. And none of those things mean that you're going to fight for and protect the interests of your constituency, no matter where that is. And again, we're not just talking about in the city, we're talking about in the entire country. And you're absolutely right. Many people ran out to vote for Trump, not because he had this great platform, but they knew him. He was on television. He had a show, The Apprentice. So people, oh, he's popular. We're going to vote for him. But there were other people who liked what it was he was doing. People will never be honest and talk about it. But there's a lot of people who don't see themselves as smart enough to be in the seats of leadership. And because he was able to attain a seat and he didn't come across as being the smartest guy, to put it nicely, some people, they were for that. They were for silently like, yeah, like one of us, we could
Mhm.
get in there and do it too, you know?
That's right.
Yeah, and they enjoyed seeing him there. But with that being said, Jody,
I
what do you
totally disagree, right?
Okay, cool.
Um,
Break it down.
Trump won the presidency because that was a referendum on a black president. That's it, right? Um, Trump only won because the white supremacists of this world in this country did a referendum against the fact that we had a black president. If Obama hadn't been the president, Trump would have never been able to win. Remember, Trump was a racist all his life. Everyone knew that. He was a derelict and an illiterate and a failed businessman. He had nothing going for himself other than the fact that he rallied up and made it okay to be racist in this country and say it out loud. And those people, poor white people, felt like he was their leader and he was going to stand up for them. And he made them comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Newark, no, I don't believe that people vote based on who's popular. Because if that was true, you would be sitting in a seat, my love. Period. End of story, right? Your popularity cannot be argued. No. The voter in Newark, the women in Newark, the black women in Newark vote for who a man tells them to vote for. Even if that man is piss poor leadership. Black women in Newark will take piss poor leadership over voting for a woman, a black woman.
Wow.
That is like we can't keep acting if that isn't real, because if we do, it will never be resolved. If we don't call that dirty secret onto the carpet, we're just like going in a circle. But that is real. It doesn't even make sense that in a city like Newark, right, that there's never been a female mayor. That just doesn't even make sense to me.
So
Especially when the largest voting bloc is women.
So let me offer you this. Let me just add that in there, and then I'm gonna go to Dr. Pam. The paternalism, right? We like, and I mentioned this before, like we see it in politics, we see it in church. There's politics even in the church. So we see it in different arenas, right? We see it in the school system, we see it in the police station, right? So we see this concept of paternalism every which way we go. But is it the men who are pushing it, or is it the women? Like we love to talk about that proverbial glass ceiling. Who's really putting it there? Is it the paternalism that's responsible? And that's what I'd like to hear from both of you. Or is it women who are establishing that glass ceiling? Because when we say that we have women, moms who are stepping up to run, to do something about what's happening. Our kids are literally coming out of their school system, not knowing how to read and write. They're reading and writing on 4th, 5th grade level out of high school. They're not able to acquire jobs. They don't have the trades anymore. They're not having the skills. And when we talk about homelessness, right, in Essex County, 90% of the homelessness is in Newark. And out of that 90%, 70% is African American. They're Black. That is a huge statistic. And when you look, it's like, okay, who's running interference here, right? And with 80% of the vote, 80% of that particular power, because let's face it, it's a lot of things that could be being done. But because we're talking about that particular piece, What is the real issue? Is it that women are establishing that ceiling, or is it really paternalism? And you guys could take that either which way. Dr. Pam, we'll start with you, and then we'll come back to Jody.
Okay. Again, I'm not too astute as it relates to politics and things of that nature, but I'm just going to talk about general speaking.
Right.
I think we create the glass ceilings and believe in it. And I'm not saying that it's not real, but I think we give more to it than needs to be. It can be broken if we work together. I think that even with when Jody was speaking, I was listening to her, and she talks about popularity. If that were the case, women would win, etc. But the older women vote, but not a lot of young people vote. And that is the case not just in Newark, that's just worldwide. They don't take it seriously, and they're not voting at all, kind of just gives in to whatever happens. And there's always an attraction to have the young vote. But I just believe that as it relates to women, there just needs to be, we need to have forums, we need to educate, we need to really, it has to start somewhere. And when we start on the ground floor of making an attempt to pull sisters together and to teach them, there's a lack of knowledge. I think all that goes on is a lack of knowledge. I understand what she was talking about, the referendum and Trump and all of that, but I agree to a certain extent, but I think that it's just the people just don't understand the political arena, and they don't care. There's so much going on nowadays. They're struggling, especially people in areas of poverty. They're struggling. They're trying to make ends meet. There's a lot of single moms out there, and they don't have the attention to the real issues. Their personal issues kind of take precedent of, where's Johnny going to go tomorrow after school? And, I can't help him with his homework. I've got to make sure that I stay at work. I can't take a day off. And there are all of these elements. It's layered. It's many issues. I don't think that there's any one answer, but I think it all begins with, shows like this, where people get a chance to voice their opinion, where you have different ideas. And we have to get out of the philosophy that I'm right, you're wrong. There's different, if you're in leadership, you have to understand how to accept differences, and then how to take what's needed and use it in a way to create unity. And when I was talking about the green hair, it's not so much the green hair. It's like the same thing with Trump. People liked his agenda. They liked his agenda. And we have to more or less educate so people can like understanding truth. And that's what we need to build our platforms on: truth. Education, give some statistics on what's going on, what's happened, so forth and so on. And I do believe one day in Newark, there will be a female mayor. The culture shifts. They're going to take place because of people like, yourselves that are talking it and aren't afraid to talk about it. I believe that you're breaking glass ceilings by these conversations. Yeah. And we need to keep on having them. It's not going to happen overnight, and everybody's not going to agree on everything, but mature, strong bosses know that everything is not going to align, and everybody's going to be under one umbrella, and we're going to all sing kumbaya and go vote for so-and-so. It's going to take time. It's going to have to be created in the culture, because the culture is off. It's off. The culture is just completely off.
Okay. Good stuff there, Dr. Pamela. Thank you so much. Jody, what are your thoughts?
I just don't agree, right? So I can come out of politics. I won't use politics, right? But in the business world, still today, when you're talking about equal pay, right? White men, then black men, then white women, and then black women, right? So even today, still today, women still get paid less on the dollar. All women. But where white women get paid less than a dollar, right? Then we get paid less than that dollar. Black women.
Yeah.
That is factual,
Yeah,
right?
that's where wage came from.
We're in 2023, right?
Yeah.
But black women, when you start looking at the data, right, are more educated than both black men and white women. People act like that's not true, but that is factual, right? And this has been for at least the last 30 years. But we still are at the bottom of the totem pole when you're talking about equal pay. That's just real, right? And if we continue to say, oh, one day it's going to change. So when, right? I watched my mother go through it. I'm the next generation. I'm in it. And like I said last week, now my daughter has even less rights than I do. There's something wrong with that, right? When you
Wow.
talk about education, black women in this country has allowed a movement to start. So in Florida, you have a governor that took black books out of school, said we can't have any books with black authors in school, and then went so far and had regular educational materials like from McGraw in social studies, convinced them to take slavery out of that book. And no one moved, right? Black women in 1963, if a governor had done that, the whole civil rights movement would have ascended upon Florida and it
Absolutely.
stayed there until it changed. So what's
Absolutely.
that change, right?
Great
Because we
point.
keep saying something's going to change. And what I'm saying is we're at a crossroads. There's an urgency. There should be a movement. There should be black women in this country should be standing up and not accepting any of it because it's our communities. But we will accept that when things do go bad in our communities today, guess who they blame it on? Black women.
That's documented.
That's the new way, right? Black
Yeah.
women. And in all reality, I would argue that everyone is afraid of us. Right? The white man is afraid of us. The white woman is afraid of us. And black men have even indoctrinated themselves to making us the enemy. Which means, right, we actually are super powerful. But we're so busy on the bottom doing as we're told to do, following party as opposed to interest, and being so desperate to be accepted that we tear each other up trying to get there.
Wow. Wow.
We have to change that.
Yeah, so that's some really deep stuff, right? And I want to just say, because now we only have like a couple of minutes, so I want to start to land this plane, and I'm definitely going to give you a couple of things to say, but again, be mindful of the time because we really got like an hour. I think that because we have women, and not just women, but because the show is that's where the focus is tonight, at least, have joined into the school board race, and again, it's not about the politics of it as much as it is about women doing just what you were saying, Jody, stepping up, stepping out, being involved, right? And so that's a great thing. And just to say, to comment on something that Dr. Jones said earlier, I want to take the opportunity to try to share the screen for something that she mentioned in terms of, just putting forward, our best foot into Newark and making sure that we have these platforms for them to speak. So what we were able to do with WAGE, Women Advocating for Gender Equity, is we decided and we took a vote to put together a school board forum to just allow for our community to see some of the women who are running, because like Jody said earlier, the chances are that they're not going to win if we look at the pattern behavior in voting, as well as the decrease in numbers over the last several elections, right? We see a definite pattern and trend. So you have myself, founder of W.A.G.E, along with Sharonda Allen, who's the founder and executive director of Operation Grow, also background in education and teaching. And we also have Anton Wheeler, founder, host of the Voice of the People United, which again has a background in education. So on Thursday, April the 13th, we ask that people come out and support this, to support our women, to support the fact that we are stepping out as moms to say, hey, let's give these women an opportunity to at least share their platform and what it is. And I think that as long as we're having a conversation and we're being respectful of each other, we don't always have to agree, right? But it's a way to do everything. And I'm just thankful that we were able to have this show this evening and have such a robust conversation with differences of opinion. And everybody still heard each other and everyone still listened to each other. And these are the types of role modeling that we want to set up for our young women in the community. And also, just I would be remiss to say, and I'm going to let you guys get the last word and close out. But I would be remiss to say if I didn't say that one of the goals here is also to not let men dominate the political sphere, and that women have to go through them to get the support and the acknowledgement from other women. One of the biggest things that was ever said to me was, who do you think you are that you don't have to do what the rest of us had to do? I don't want my daughters to ever hear somebody say that to them in terms of leadership. If they should choose to play basketball for a living, like our girl Angela Reese, if they should choose to be doctors, lawyers, if they should choose to be struggling poets, like I don't care as long as they're happy, but they should be able to do any and all of those things without a man co-signing them for other women to co-sign for them, if that makes sense. So with that being said, it's 8:58. You guys have about 30 seconds to just give some last thoughts, and we're gonna land this plane for sure.
Okay. I just want to say real quickly, you know, and you know, again, we're coming from different perspectives, and I don't think that there's as much disagreement as there is just different information, such as, you know, I'm in human resources, have been all of my life, and what I do with women is I talk to them about glass ceilings and about being able to be achievers. And statistics show that women that are older, there's a wide gap between what men earn more than women. But for the younger women, from ages starting even at age 14 to ages 34, that gap is closing. It's not as wide as it used to be. And I look at it from that perspective, and I say that it has not happened yet. More women are in college and getting education more than male counterparts. It doesn't even matter the race. There's more women in colleges, et cetera, and in trades. More women own businesses now, small businesses. A majority of them are owned by women. It's shifting. It is changing. It might not seem as though, but I like to bring out the statistics to just let you know that women, don't lose your hope. You know, and as it relates to the political side, don't lose your hope. You know, okay. I don't know as much about politics as Jody does, but I can say that I'm I want people to be encouraged, because the shift is coming. It's small, but it is coming, and statistics show that.
We agree. Absolutely. I definitely agree. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Pamela Jones. Now, Jody, you have about 30 seconds.
I understand, Dr. Jones, and I would like to feel as optimistic as Dr. Jones, right? But I have a 16-year-old daughter in this country, and honestly, I guess maybe just my nature, I don't want to wait. I feel like Martin Luther King when the president told him, "Listen, I don't want to do the Voters' Right Act Instead, I got this program I want to do with you, and I want you to work on that. And at that juncture, Martin Luther King was tired of waiting. There was no more time to wait. I feel that urgency, right? I don't want my daughter to feel it that way. And I feel like we're losing so much. And I feel like we've been a little too soft with each other, that it's ugly enough for us to call that ugly to the carpet, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Listen, guys.
this is real, right?
Yeah, we got to close this
It's
down.
not enough leadership that are women. Period.
Period. Listen, guys, thank you for coming. And until next time, wage love. Goodbye, everybody.